Okay, today we are going to do a valve commentary system where you can just click it.
In this next step, we'll do some interesting stuff.
And
In this next step, we'll do some
it even will know
interesting stuff.
if multiple are there. And we're going to be, I'm going to do a quick overview. You can also make it work within third person. Where is it? Right here. This one uses proximity instead of line of sight. So there, you can make that work as well. It's slightly different, but I'll show you the difference here. The only difference is this just has a overlap sphere, and we do the logic on that versus on the other one. We do the logic on, we use a blueprint interface that we made right here. Which the player calls. I think this is the right player. Yeah, this is the commentary logic. We have a raycast that's always going. You could use this for other things, but it's just always shooting out from the crosshair forward, and then it's checking, hey, if you hit something, see if the thing implements the commentary interface, and if it does, go ahead and start it spinning or stop it spinning as soon as you're done with it. And then there's some logic if you press the action key, which under my project is just E, but you can obviously change that to whatever you want. See if there's a valid current commentary node, and then check to see if it's active, which we grab through the blueprint interface. And then if it's both active and valid, then stop it playing and then play the new node. That's what it does. Or set the playing node to invalid. Okay. We are going to recreate this system. This is the commentary logic, a few variables here. You could obviously expand this system, maybe make it so it toggles depending on what your game settings are, but currently that's not implemented. And then the other thing I want to show you is the widget here, which has like a timeline. All these assets, by the way, both the model with vertex colors and this image, are on the Discord. And then this is the logic within here. And then there's a little bit of logic in the material. It's mostly just this, which desaturates it. I threw in a matte cap logic here. When we recreate this, we probably won't add the matte cap, but it does make it look nicer. We'll just use this part here though. So start spinning when you go over it, and whenever it's spinning, it means you can activate it, and then it spins faster when it's going. You can also stop it. Oh, that's a different logic. I went through a portal. Okay. We're going to recreate it in this project over here, which is just an attachment project. One thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this just a little bit. I like to do that so that way when I make builds, I can tell that things are different. So let's start by adding in our input. So we'll just do activate input, or we'll call it activate key. We don't need anything VR. Let's grab our first person. I think this is it. Event graph, very good. And we'll just put the logic down here. I may be copying over certain nodes, but we will recreate everything. So it's going to be like an abbreviated recreation. I already made a folder here for the commentary. Let's bring in our assets. So we got the dialog model. We want this to be replaced, so we get the vertex colors. And then we want to make sure to import the normals. Use the built-in, don't generate normals. So we can just bring that in. And then we want this image, which it doesn't matter a whole lot, but we can set this to user interface. That just changes kind of the compression settings a bit. You shouldn't be able to see it too prominently though. Matte per color. Okay. Let's go ahead and apply this. So let's grab that, put it on our model. And then I'm actually just going to copy this. So this, I guess since we're not blending that in, we can put this under both. And then this is spec roughness. It's kind of shiny. And that's our material. So let's apply this. I can show you what that looks like. Looks like that. Not quite as matte cap as the other one, but that's okay. Let's make our commentary. All right, let's drag in our mesh. There it is. Let's move this into our scene. I'll put a few of them. Since they are numbered. A more robust version of this, you could read it from a CSV file, like a table, which I actually do in some of my other tutorials for other things. Forget which one I used the table for. I know I did it in the wave function collapse one. There was something else I read a table from. Okay, so here's the actual commentary. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to just drag in, we're going to create all the variables I need. Let's see if, yeah, these work. I'll go over the different types, but this will make it a lot more consistent. Okay, let's jump into the construction script here. We just want to create a dynamic material instance of this guy. And then this is where the set that. If that wasn't created, you would just promote to variable. We just want a copy of it. This one's wrong since we haven't actually created it yet. Let's create it though. So what's the name of this? This is commentary timeline is what we call this. So we got our canvas panel. The main thing is, if we grab this, that's what this needs to be. It's a commentary timeline. Control-Shift-S to save everything. I don't think we need that. I guess we will need to grab it when we change that variable. Let's go and create our BPI. So blueprints, blueprint interface. So that's the blueprint interface. This is going to go onto here. Let's jump to that. Okay, we want a few functions here. Some of them are just kind of we leave just empty. So we're gonna have start spin, stop spin, not sping. And then we're gonna have play node. And then stop playing. And then the one that we will need to add a variable is called get activated. To add a question mark in, which will have an output of just activated question mark. So now that we're in the commentary, if we refresh this, we should have the interfaces right here. We can jump to the event graph. In terms of the spinning, it's pretty simple logic. It'll be on tick, but we're going to use our rotation speed here. And we just want to check, hey, is this greater than, I'm just holding down B to grab that branch, by the way, and clicking. Hey, is the rotation speed greater than 0? If it is, rotate. Local rotation. And we are just spinning it on the Z so we can split this. And then we want to multiply these two together. So the rotation speed by delta time, so that way it's consistent regardless of your frame rate. Let's go and check these values real quick. 100, 400, we want those to be set to something. And then these just have a default. These will show up. Let's see, this is the interesting stuff is just in here.
In this next step, we'll do some interesting stuff.
It's part of the engine content. You can literally use any sound though. So ideally, this would be your own commentary. Oh, I dragged in the wrong thing actually. What I wanted to do is pull out the actual blueprint. What I can do though is just copy it and then reset all the locations and And then I'll delete the models. There we go. So if you look here, these have nodes. We only have 3, so we'll select all these. Say there's only 3 in this level. And then we'll say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Again, these settings you could probably, if you're doing this for like every level in your game, I think you'd want it to be a chart or something. I doubt you'd want to manually set all this, but that's what we're doing here. I think we brought in like weapon data or something from a chart. Okay, so there's the spinning. Let's just set this to something. Like not that fast, 100. Just as like a sanity check. Okay, they spin. They don't do anything, but they do spin. Cool. We can set this back to 0. We do actually want some collision here, so let's check this. Simple collision. And that's fine. If that wasn't good, then you could generate one here. Remove, we can even do it here. See? Like that. But that will work fine. I'm actually going to leave that open. Okay, so now we're going to start implementing some interfaces. We'll do start spin and stop spin. And this is actually fairly simple. We're going to grab this activate node. And we basically, before doing this, we want to check if it's activated, since the behavior when it's activated is slightly different than when it's not already active. And we'll just grab the preview rotation speed, which is a little bit slower than the plane rotation speed. And we will just set the rotation speed like this. And then in both cases, though, we want to ready to activate. Oh, if we hold down Alt, we can bring it in as a set, which we will just set like that. True, though, we don't want to, if it is activated, we don't want to change how fast it rotates, but we do want to set this ready to activate. That just means if you click, something will happen. This is honestly probably not as important to use like a independent Boolean here in this one, since we're doing more logic in the player. I'll show you why it started this way though, so you can reverse engineer. In the third person one, I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. This was a lot more important because I was setting the input enabled and disabled within here, and the actual node was doing the input action key. See?
In this next...
However, for the other one, this one, it's going to be based on the player doing the action because there's a raycast coming out from the player, which is harder to... Like, if the player is already shooting a raycast, then it doesn't make a ton of sense to put the input in here. But we still do use this. In fact, we can use this here. Let's actually check. I'm going to check this. Is ready to activated used? Where am I getting it? Yeah, I think this works. It's a bit redundant, but that's okay. So then we are going to now implement the play node here. Before we do that though, let's get a bit of logic into the player under the activation key just so we can see things happening. I'm just gonna grab my camera. We're gonna need the world location. And we're also gonna need the forward vector. I'm gonna multiply the forward vector. We're just setting up by some large number. Oops, what is happening? There we go. It's good. And then raycast. Line trace by channel. Start, not that one. We actually need to add this vector plus vector, like that. Okay. So this is a raycast, just as a this actually needs to be on tick. We just need to see what's in front of the player. We'll put the activation key under there. We will do some checks. There we go. That's good. So it's just always kind of checking. Raycasts are quite cheap, so this isn't actually as bad as it seems. If we were doing a bunch of stuff with this raycast every single frame, that would get expensive. But just the raycast itself is... raycasts are pretty well optimized. Typically they even run on the GPU, depending on your hardware. Okay, so now we want to do does implement interface, and we can add in another check. So it's checking both, does it hit anything, and does the thing that you're hitting implement the interface. And the interface we're looking for is the commentary interface, that guy. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Maybe not actually. Yeah, we only need 2 nodes here, and it makes sense to. Okay. So we actually want to promote that to a variable, and we'll call it current commentary node, like that. Okay, so if this does implement the interface, set it as the current commentary node. And since we know it implements this interface, that means we can pretty safely call things from the interface. So we can do start spin, just like that. And if you hit anything else that doesn't implement the interface, go ahead and get the current commentary node and stop spin. Not stop playing, but stop spin. And then set this to invalid. Actually, one thing we might want here is just a quick validation check. Because we'll be hitting a lot of things that don't implement the interface. And we only wanted to do this if the current node is even valid, like that. If it's not, just don't do anything. It's all good. We've ruined our symmetry, but that's okay. I'm just adding the invalid into the other one, since that's actually pretty important. I guess we can set our symmetry like this. There we go. Look at that. Nice and pretty still. Okay. So let's see if this does something. Let's make, so here's the start spin and stop spin. Let's see if this works. Spins. When you look away, it stops spinning. Spin. Very nice. It's just what we want. Turning off the debug. Okay. Now we want it to actually do something when it activates. So what we can do here, let's duplicate this variable. We're going to call this playing commentary node. But for the current commentary node, we want to do is valid. We only want to do something with the activation key. There is an exception here. If you look in the Valve games, when the commentary nodes like take over control of your camera to show you something, if you press the action key at any time, it will stop them. So that might be an exception here. If there's nothing under your crosshair, you might still want to stop something, but in our case, we only want to do stuff when you're looking at a commentary node. Then we'll grab the playing commentary node, and we want to is activated. Let's see here. I think I can grab it this way. Is this not? Oh, this is just an actor. Interesting. Oh, that's right. We call it get activated. This? No, it doesn't like that. Get activated message. That's the one we want. And is it valid? We can turn on the context there again. This one. We don't want the this is valid, we want the actual Boolean one, because this is going to be an and check. We're going to check both these things. Hey, is it valid and is it active? And we're going to do something on that logic. If it is both, let me just check. Okay, cool. If this is valid and active, if it is, we want to stop playing the playing commentary node. Like that. And then we will do another check, which we want to see if these are the same. If the playing node is the one you're looking at. So basically, are you looking at the node that's playing, or are you looking at another node, is what we want to check. Because if they are the same, if you're looking at the node that's playing, just stop it from playing and you're basically done. Then we want to invalidate the node that's playing, just like that. However, if the node you're looking at is not the node that's playing, we want to stop the node, which we did here, that's playing. But then we want to play the node that you're looking at, which is going to be this one. So we can play this node. And we want to play that both if it's not activated or if the node you're looking at is not the one that's playing. And then once this is playing, we want to set it, our playing node, as the current one. Makes sense? That's your logic right there. And then for the the actual commentary. Let's jump back in here. We can save this. We need to actually set up the play node logic. We'll do a few checks here. Let's do kind of a sanity check. Hey, is this ready to activate? Is this activated already? Because if it is activated already and you press it to start playing, we want to do some things. We basically want to set it to stop the audio. So let's actually do this logic in reverse. We're going to do the if it's not activated, which is the logic to get the audio playing. So first let's grab the commentary geomat. We'll set this, it's a scalar. You think you would make this a Boolean, but Booleans don't actually work well with Booleans within materials don't actually work well in runtime. There's a weird thing, but a scalar works fine. And I want to set this to 1. So technically we should be able to see this working. Should turn gray. Is that working? No, it is not. Let's see. Ready to activate, activated. Ready, oh, that needs to be off, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's add in some print scans. It is spinning, it is stopped spinning. Oh, I think stop playing, play node. Let's see if anything activates here. So we'll do print. Put a bunch of 1s. Okay, that's not actually working. Am I in the right BP? First person character. First person character. Let's just, we can check this even easier. Okay, that's not even working. Activate key. Did I just not set it up? Maybe it's something as simple as that. Yeah, we just, set it to something. That's kind of important. There we go. There you go. Turn, see, it's orange, and then we click on it, turns gray. We actually don't need the interface anymore. Okay, let's get this node playing things. So we take the playing speed and we'll set the rotation speed to that. So we want it to spin faster when it's playing something. These are basically the 2 cosmetic things we want to happen. We do want to set the node as activated. And then we want to grab the dialogue sound and we want to spawn in the 2D sound. I just opened that up so you can see it, and then the commentary audio, we'll make a variable here. like that. And then we actually want to do something, a few things with this audio. We want to bind an event. Bind event on audio playback %. And then if we custom, we can get this, and we'll use this to update timeline. This will use our UI for. I'm going to drag this down though, since we're going to be doing a few things with the commentary audio. This will actually play, so I can show you.
In this next step, we'll do some interesting stuff.
There we go. But we actually want to tell it to play as well. And the reason we do that is so this works correctly. If we don't tell it to play, it doesn't trigger this timeline update correctly. So that's why we tell it to play. We do want to bind one more event. Event on finish. So when the audio is finished, we want to bind an event. And we actually don't need to create a custom event here. What we're going to do is we are actually going to implement the stop playing an event, and we'll just use this one. I'm going to quickly create the node that goes here. We're going to do ready to active, select float, preview rotation speed, and then we're going to set the rotation speed to this. So this is basically, if you're hovering over it and it's playing and you press stop playing, we don't actually want it to stop spinning completely. If you're still hovering over it, we want it to go back to the preview. But if you're hovering over it, if you're not hovering over it, then just stop it. Right, which happens if this will get called if you click one node while another node is playing. We don't want it to go to preview rotation speed, we just want it to stop spinning. And this, we can bind this on audio finished. We want to call this, and this will call that, just like that. All right, let's finish up here. The rest of the stuff is actually UI, so we'll loop back around to it. We want to set it to, okay, once it stopped, we want to let people know it's not activated anymore. And then we want to grab our commentary audio, and we just want to stop it. This is if it is playing and we want to stop it from playing. And then we have one more UI thing, which we'll need to add here and here. So let's get our UI set up. The actual UI, I'm going to just drag it over. But I will show you. I'll walk through the things that are important here. Here it is. We want to grab our image. What do we call that image? It's just dialog image. Just goes here. It's just set to be orange. This is just a black image. It's a little bit lower in the Z order. Like, notice if this was taller. So I'm saying the Z order, that matters. I'm trying to think of what else matters. I think I want all this to be non-hit testable, since there's nothing that needs to click it. And then this, our timeline is just an audio timeline. And then I'll show you the settings here. It's under, I think, style. No. There was a trick with the margin. Background image, margin. There you go. So that lets there be a little line right there. If I make this bigger, it's bigger, right? Thicker lines. That's just the one that worked for me. It's not perfect since it scales a little strange, but that's okay. And then these are set to variables. You can obviously make the color however you want. I just styled mine off of the one that Valve has. Okay, then we need a little bit of logic in here. And some variables. We'll have the indexes and the names. And what I'm actually going to do, since it's pretty simple logic, I'm just going to paste it right in there. So on construct, these ones are set to expose on spawn, since we want to set them when we create this asset. And I'm just appending these two into strings and then putting them into the text. And then also putting the name of the commentary there into the correct text, which is this one versus this one. And then I'm updating, I have a custom function called update timeline, and it just takes in the %. So let's save that real quick. And let's update this. So quickly, once this is stopped, we want to remove it. That makes sense why you need that. However, this is where we update. And we just want to grab in this playback % and put it right into the, what is this called again? The progress bar. There we go. UI element. We've never actually created it though. So we want to create the widget. And we want to get player controller, like that. And this is the commentary timeline. Notice these variables show up. That's because we have these set to expose on spawn. If you don't have those won't show up. So be careful. And this is, we're just going to feed in, oops, not that. Wrong one. This one goes to the index, and then the max index is right there. And since I already have it created, I'll put it there. You can also do promote to variable. That's where you'd get the variable initially. And then I'm just going to add to viewport like that. Okay, I think that's actually everything. Let's check here. So it spins.
In this next step, we'll do some interesting stuff.
Just like that. And then see it keeps spinning. You can play it as much as you want, but you can also stop it midway.
In this next step,
You can play one, and if you go to another one, it will override it.
next step, we'll do some interesting
So you can only play one at a time.
step. We'll do some interesting stuff.
Just like that. So that's the functionality. Obviously, you can create a more robust system to like tie it into your game state and your save logic to know when, like, what elements you've done per level, or you can toggle them off so the commentaries aren't always there. So they're only there when you're playing in commentary mode. And there's also functionality that Valve has in the game where some commentary nodes will take control of the camera and like show you something. I don't have that here, but it wouldn't be terribly hard to implement. All these assets, the little image and the model, are on the Discord. That'll be linked in the description. And if not, if you have any questions or things you want to add to this or that you think would be cool, feel free to mention those. And I'll catch you later.